Okay, good morning, everyone. We will be continuing from Daf Tes Zion 16 on top of the Amud, the first line. Right after we spoke about Mein al Maba, that they gave birth literally the same day, so too when they planted, immediately grew. So let's continue. We're continuing the narrative. This one was still speaking. And what would happen? He would say, he was basically saying if fire fell from the Shemayim and it burnt everybody, burnt the sheep and it burnt the servants, and only I escaped on my own to be able to tell you what happened. While he's talking, the Kasdim, they had three divisions that they deployed to what? To destroy the camels. And they took everything and then they killed all the slaves by the sword. And only on my own I was able to come and let you know about it. Doesn't stop. They were all sitting in the Bechar's house. And what happened? And suddenly a wind came, and it hit all four corners of the house, and it killed everyone. It was a massive collapse, and everyone died except me. Siva got up, and he tore his shirt, and he plucked himself. So we learned you're not allowed to do that, right? Not to pluck out the hair off your head, but it means to say is he really threw himself on the ground, and he started telling the Rebbeinu Shalom. And he tells, and he says out loud, I came out naked out of my mother's womb, and I'll end up returning there. Hashem Nasan Vashem Lakach, Yehi Shem Hashem Evayrach, right? A lot of people say this whenever they're at a Levaya. That's a tragedy. Decide all this, he did not go against the Rebbeinu Shalom. And a certain day, that was the next day, some say it was possibly Yom Kippurim. The angels came to stand in front of the Rebbeinu Shalom. Then we also had the Satan. From where do you come? He said, I'm exploring the earth. And then it says the Salach over there by the end of the pasuk. We should really try to see if we can see that pasuk inside. It's pasuk Tes, and it says, "Vayem Hashem al Satan, Eizem etam yana Satan says Hashem mishut arts u'misalech ba." Lashon is salech. If you look at the Torah, that's how the pasuk fears ice. That's how the pasuk finishes, and we're making it just like we saw over there. Is salech in this pasuk? We said also about Avram Avinu. Amal lefanu Rebbeinu Shalom shati b'chalaylam. I could explore the entire world. V'lay matzasi ka'avdecha Avram. And I have not found anyone as loyal as Avram Avinu Shamar to lie, like you told him. Kum Esalech. Here we're bringing the connection of Esalech. Now we all know what happened. His own wife Sarah he never, for a split moment, questioned your ways. Dr. Gemara continues the narration. Did you look? Did you check out my Eved Iyov? Kien kamayu v'aretz v'gaimer v'idenu machzik v'tumasai. For there's none like him in the world. And what did you do? Kaviyachol, you turned them against me. You tried swallowing him for nothing. He's basically trying to say you're destroying him for no reason. Why? Because look, as much as you punished him and took away all his kids, he never questioned me. How could the Rebbeinu Shalom Kiviyachol say that the Satan was able to convince him to do X, Y, Z? Rebbeinu Shalom doesn't have such a concept. What's the Yitzhar do in our world? He lures us into sin, and then he's a backstabber. As soon as he convinces you to do the sin, he runs up to the Shemayim, and he convinces the Rebbeinu Shalom, look what he's doing. They're doing chatayim, noitel rishos, and then he asks permission from the Rebbeinu Shalom to kill the sinner, noitel neshama, and he takes the soul. The malach hamavis. Okay. The narrative is continued. Vayana Satan as Hashem, the Satan who told the Rebbeinu Shalom, Vayayma Oyer Badar. Limb for the limb, indeed, all that a man has, that he will give up his life. It means to say is, whenever someone's taking punches, or even with a sword, we find that a lot of gory incidents, that people, you see their stabbings and everything, they raise quickly their hands in order not to hurt their face. So they're willing to sacrifice their arms, kabiyachol, and not get killed. So what is the Satan telling everybody in Shalem? It's very nice. He understands that you're really trying to kill him. So he's sacrificing his family, his house, his avodim, his possessions, everything as long as not himself. So he's willing to take the hit, as they say. Okay. So because of that, ulam shlach na yadcha. So Rebbeinu Shalom said, no problem. You could touch him. You could touch his flesh. However, and afa pikein, he'll still continue to give me brachas. Sorry, the Satan was talking, that if you give me rishos to do everything to him, he's suddenly v'recha over here. The v'recha doesn't mean blush and blessing. Blush and klal, he's going to curse you out suddenly. No problem. Whatever you want, you could do. He's in your hands. You better not kill himself. Kill him. Make sure you don't kill him. The Satan left the Rebbeinu Shalom and he inflicted Eve with terrible, terrible inflammation. His whole entire body, from the soles to the head, was covered in terrible, terrible inflammation, sores, etc. Extremely, extremely painful. Why? Mashal Rabbi, Shvar Chavis, Ushmar Sein. It's like a master telling his servant, break the barrel, but leave the wine. So too over here, he has to try to inflict him the most severe pain and torture and make sure he doesn't kill him. It's extremely, extremely delicate, because you do too much, he's going to die. Too little, you didn't accomplish what you wanted. Okay. Amar Shlakish. This, when we're talking about this whole psukim of Eov over here, we're talking, when we say that Satan means who's Satan? He's the prosecutor. He's also the Yitzhahara who convinces people to do sin. Who Malach HaMavis? Who Satan? He's going to bring sources of this. Who Satan? How do we know he's the prosecutor? The Chsiv. Hayetzah Satan me'es pnei Hashem. After he convinced the Rebbeinu Shalom was prosecuting Eve, when he told him that he's picking up his hands, he's sacrificing a limb, he departed. How do we know the Yitzhahara? Chsiv Asam. It says, I'll swear. Rak kol hayoim. It is written, only evil all day long. It's talking about a pasuk in Bereshis. Hashem saw that this was going on. Kiribas Aretz, right before Noach. We saw what was going on. Chsiv hacha rak is nafsh tishmar. Or rak elav tishlach. Also here we have the word rak to tell us, to establish that this is the same person. Hu mal chamav the chsiv again. Rak nafsh tishmar. That's why they waited for this. The other one was in parentheses. The reason they wanted to put over here. Alma b'didei by saying don't do that, it's mashma that you wanted to do that. However, I'll let you get everything you requested except A and B. It sounds like you want to do A and B. Okay. Now Reb Levi is going to reveal the Satan, what this Satan, the Yitzhahara, this Malach HaMavis, his motive in prosecuting Eve. Zok the Gemara, we find this motive also by Penina. What did Penina do to she was the wife of Elkanah. Elkanah had two wives, Chana and Penina. Chana was childless. What did Penina do? Penina shepherded her. And the reason why she shepherded her is in order for her to burst out crying down to the Rebbeinu Shalom. However, L'maisa Geret, as much as she was L'shem Shamayim, she heard another fellow Yid, and therefore she got punished. Let's see this inside. Satan Ufnina, Upnina L'shem Shamayim Eskavnu. They both wanted to do L'shem Shamayim. Satan kivin chazak ala Kadosh Baruch. He saw that Rebbeinu Shalom did not yidate basa Eve. He saw that he was partial to Eve. Amar chas v'shalom min sheli l'rachmanus et Avraham. God forbid chas v'shalom they'll forget the mercy of Avraham. That we give Rebbeinu Shalom gives us Rahmanas because of the chus Avraham. Therefore, he tried setting out to demonstrate Eve's, that he's not such a Eve's failings. Okay. And therefore, we'll go back to Avinu. Penina dechsev. Penina also had honorable motives, as it says. We're talking about the chasa tzarasa. Tzarasa means a co-wife. We learned this in Yavamis. Gam kas ba'avur harima. To make her complain, right? That was the whole point. The reason why she shepherded her is to make her cry out to the Rebbeinu Shalom. Okay. There's sure of Acha by Yaakov be Pampunia. It's a place. Asa Satan And the Satan came kiviyachol nashke l'charei by thinking, this teaching of Rav Levi said that he was doing l'shem shemayim. He was very happy that the people were saying that. Okay. B'chol zois. Now we're going to continue to reaction of what happened to Iyov. B'chol zois lechatei Iyov b'svasav, with his lips. However, Amar Ravi made a diak b'svasav loichata. However, deep down beliba, he had improper thoughts. He was harboring improper thoughts, but he did not voice them. My comment. What does it mean when the pasuk says Eretz nitna biyad Rasha? The land is given to Rasha. Pnei shavteha yichasa. It's going to cover the wicked judges. Imlay efai mihu. If not, then who is it? Who's going to inflict on the righteous? Amarava bikeshi of lahafach kara apia. He wanted to turn the plate upside down. He wanted to destroy the covet that we give to the Rebbeinu Shalaylam. He thought that that's it. Look what's happening. The world is people had this Rahman al-Islam by the Holocaust. We had this. The forces of evil are suddenly taken over. Where's the Rebbeinu Shalaylam? Okay, Amalai Abaya Leidiber Iyov Ella Keneged Satan. Abaya wants to say, no, Chas v'Shalom. He wasn't referring to the Rebbeinu Shalaylam. He was saying this role to the Satan, but even in his thoughts, he never went against the Rebbeinu Shalaylam. Ketanoi, we find this. It says, Eretz Nitna, Iyov said the Eretz Nitna biyad Rasha. Rebbe Lezaimer, that what Bikesh, Iyov Lav, Karapia, that what he was married. He ended up saying the Rebbeinu Shalaylam was terrible. No, Satan. He's not talking about the Rebbeinu Shalaylam. He's talking about the Satan. Another statement that Iyov said, Al Daitcha, Iyov told the Rebbeinu Shalaylam, Ki lo ersha ve'ein miyadcha metzila. Were it your intention, I would not be wicked. None can save from your hand. Basically, Rav is saying as follows: Amar Rav Bikish Iyov lifter skalaylam kulam in a din. He wanted to exempt the whole entire world from the din of the Rebbeinu Shalaylam. Alam lefanav Rebbeinu Shalaylam. Barasa shar parsaisiv dukais. You created an ox with split hooves. Barasa chamar parsaisiv klutais. Or chamar, a donkey with closed hooves. Right? We know which one's kosher, which one's not kosher. Barasa Ganeden, Barasa Gehenim, Barasa Tzadikim, Barasa Rishoim. Mi ma'akev ayatcha. Who can stop you? Those are the sins that compelled to do so by Kilu. Why is it their fault for Iyov to the Rebbeinu Shalaylam? Those who are sinned, this is where the Bechira comes in, is that they don't have Kaviyachol Bechira. So the teretz was, you know what Iyov's friends responded? He had his three friends. We're going to see who they were. Afata, Tafir, Yereh. Certainly you will mitigate fear of heaven. Besigra, Sichel, if Nikel, and diminish praise to the Rebbeinu Shalaylam. The Hayinu, study of Torah, takes away thoughts of evil. Barasa, Barakadosh Baruch Hu Yitzhara, Bar Lai Torah Tavlin, and Sigmara. In Kedushin, Daf Lamed Hey, Barasa Torah Tavlin. Okay. Now what? We all know the Gemara over there says, Zok Rashi, in Pagacha Menovel Zeh. Yeah, if the Menovel hits you, bring him to the base medrash. Im Evenu, if it's a stony mayach, and if it's iron, it will shatter. Ayin Sham. So Baruch Hashem, we have Torah to protect us. You're right, the people that are doing chait, that's what they always say, come learn a little. Once you start learning, you see how they become changed people. Darash Rava. My Dechsev, what is the pasuk saying? In Iyov, Birkas Oived Alai Tavai Velev Amana Arne. The blessed of the wretch was directed towards me, and I brought joy to the widow's heart. The what? Birkas Oived Alai Tavai. That the people that were Rahman al-San, they weren't the best places in their lifetime. Then what would he do? He would take the fields from the orphans, he'd improve them, then immediately return them. So we call them the bottom of the pit of society, the people that are struggling. Or people didn't want to marry these almanas. What would he do? Either would associate his name by saying he's a relative, one shot, or he would be mefarsim or shvach, convince people to marry and then everyone would come and want to marry. Okay. Now we're going to talk about certain psukim that Iyov said against the Rebbeinu Shalaylam. Lushakol yishakol ka'asi v'havaisi b'maznayim yisu yachad. Lushakol yishakol means, with that my vexation be weighed, and my experience placed in the scale, let them be born together. The plain pshat of the pasuk, the Maharsha brings down that Eve was complaining that if all his Yisurim were in a scale, they would overweigh all the sands kaviyachol of the world. That's how much Yisurim he had. However, Rav was learning it as follows. That's how the pshat of the pasuk is. That lu shakal yishakal. If you would put on a scale kaasi, my experience, asiya vavasi, b'maznayim yisu yachad, is really Rav was saying, put my Averis on one side and put my Yisurim on one side. We'll see which one is worse. Amarav afra lefume de'iev. Who is Eve to talk like that? Did everybody shalom stuff his mouth with dirt? Chavrusa klapishamaya. He's talking to Rebbeinu like a buddy. You don't talk like that to a Rebbe. See, sometimes the chutzpah people have, they talk to a Rebbe like their buddy. You don't talk like that to Rebbeinu Shalom. Rebbeinu Shalom's not your friend to talk to, like, oh, yo, he's not your friend. Okay. Right? When you make a business, when it's all about business, say, let's make a business calculation. Let's put this and this together. Okay, weiter. Lu yesh b'neinu meichiach. There should be no arbiter between us. Yashis yadei al shenein, that may lay his hand on both of us. That what? Amarav afrei lepume deiv should be stuffed with dirt. Klum yeshevet shemechichas rabbi. Who is he to tell him that there's no one that could act as a middleman between the Rebbeinu Shalom and him? Who are you? You're the Evet. You stay quiet. Another pasuk that the Gemara says there was a problem with what he said. He said, "Bris karati leina. I made a pact with my eyes. Umay spine al psula. Why would I contemplate even looking at a psula? Amarava afalafum with ear, stuff his mouth. Iu b'achri naisa. You're right. He never looked at other women except his wife. Avram afilu b'tidei loistakel. How do we know that Avram Avinu never even realized the beauty of his wife? Where it talks about when Avram Avinu came to Mitzrayim, he suddenly said, "The Ben Shalom he saw a reflection in order that she shouldn't get taken away." Now I found that Kishifas Marat, when he saw that she saw the reflection. Earlier he did not recognize her beauty. Right? Another thing that Eve said that wasn't right. Kala Einon, a cloud dissipates and it's gone. So too, Kain Yair Sha'al, so too someone who goes down to his grave. Loyal, we say the word Sha'al by Tachnun. You see that Eve said he'll never come up, person that dies. Another thing that Eve said that was bad. If he has shattered me with Sa'ara, with a whirlwind, and he multiplied my wounds for no reason. Amar Rabba Iyov b'Sa'ara cheref u'b'Sa'ara eshivu. Eve, he made upset the Rebbeinu Shalom with the word Sa'ar with whirlwind, and he was answered with Sa'ara. Why? B'Sa'ara cheref, the chesiv we just said. Asher b'Sa'ara, the word Sa'ara shefeni. That what? Amar lefanav Eve told the Rebbeinu Shalom, Shema ruach Sa'ara v'fanecha. Maybe what happened was a whirlwind passed through before you, and you got confused with my name. Eve and Ayev are very similar. Ayev means the enemy. Ben Eschalef l'cha ben Eve l'Ayev. Kilu is trying to tell the Rebbeinu Shalom, maybe he made a mistake with punishing me. And Besara Shivu, the Chesiv, was punished with Seiru. That says, Vayan Hashem Esiv min Sa'ara. He answered him from out of the whirlwind, saying, Vayam Egayman, Ezerna kegever chaletzecha. Gird up your lines like a warrior of Hashalcha v'diyeni. I'll put questions to you and you will enlighten me. So, this was the argument. That he's telling, the Rebbeinu Shalom Kaviyach was telling Eve a bunch of psukim, and a bunch of concepts we have today. I've created many hairs between a person. Every person has a lot of hairs. Every single hair has its own pore, its own hole. If two hairs do not grow from one hole, they will darken a person's eyesight. I'm not confusing one hole from another hole. You think I'll confuse you? And he continued with another example. Me, Filag Lashetef Tal, who opened the channel for the rushing waters, Ta'el V'Gaimer. Harbatim Barasim Ba'avim, created many drops around the clouds. They all have, that goes down, and now if you look at the pouring rain, it never touches each other. They don't hit each other, not in a single channel. It would ruin the land, it would cause it to turn into clay, and it would not yield fruit, produce. Therefore, another example. My mashma the high tala. First of all, how do we know tala means tfus, channel, like it's a certain way of going? It's in regarding Pasuk Malachim regarding Eliyahu when he was having a confrontation with the priest of Baal on Har Carmel. He said that Eliyahu made a tala whose area was what? 2 saws of seats. So you see the ta'ala is a lashon of water and channels and how to create produce, etc. Another example, v'derech lachazis koilos, and who made a path for the clouds, which carry, we all know, when the clouds hit each other, creates thunder. Harbe koilos barasi ba'avim created many thunders. If chas v'shalom 2 thunders would hit each other and the noise would crash. They would destroy the entire world. That sound would be the largest sound ever. We have a 4th example. Can you fathom when the mountain go yale sala? Or tishmar? Or can you anticipate the yalis when they give birth? We'll see in a second what the Rebbeinu Shalom does. He causes a snake bite and it opens up the womb. So the Gemara says as follows: the goat is very cruel to its offspring. When it squats to release the baby, she goes on top of the mountain. What do? I need mazmelo nasher. I prepare an eagle shem kabel b'chnafav v'anicha lefanei. The exact moment that the newborn falls down, there's an eagle that flies right under. You know what happens? Another example, 5th example. We said tishmar. What's he trying to say? Can you anticipate the tsar of this ayala? Ayala zu rachmatzar. That what? It's the birth, the canal is very narrow. When she tries to give birth, Rashi says it's a snake, and that bites her specifically in that spot of the rechem. Quickly opens up from the snake bite, it causes a reaction, and she's able to give birth. If the snake would bite a moment earlier, he brought in 5 very powerful examples that don't get confused. That I thought that Eiv and Oyev. Rebbeinu Shalom is everything is exact. Okay. And then it says, Eiv loy b'das yidaber, v'dvar loy b'haskol. Kilu. Eiv was speaking without thinking really. Loy b'das. V'dvar loy b'haskol. Without haskol means deliberation. That what? You did not speak to me properly as my servant Eiv. However, they take it out. The Maharsha takes it out, so we're not going to learn it. Even though Eiv said not nice stuff, he still didn't get punished because he was going through a lot. Okay. Now we're going to talk about the 3 friends of Eiv. The 3 friends of Eiv heard all about what happened. We're going to see how they know about it. Each came from their place. Eliphaz came from Atemani, Vildad Ashuchi, Vitzoifer and Amasi. They met together to be with him and comfort and give him comfort at its time for what he was going through. Now, what's it mean? It sounds like they met up at a place and then all 3 of them went together. So what do you mean they met up? All 3 of them enter at the same time, the same gate to Eiv's town. Vitana. Think about it. What's the chances of 3 people pulling up all different throughout the country, people around that everyone pulls up to the same minute? They call Parsi. Between each of the places where the friends lived was 300 parsais. We're talking about between 800 miles. 800 miles even today is a crazy, it's a very far trip. So imagine the Rebbeinu Shalom made it happen that they all met up at the exact same time. The Gemara explains how the friends heard about it, right? They didn't have WhatsApp and email and everything. And it has another point is if they arrived at the same time, then it means they heard about it at the same time. They all had a crown, which the crown had the faces of all their friends and their names. And whenever suddenly one of them would have a tsar, the name would change a little, the appearance of their face. They all had trees that were named for each of the friends. Keeping the chamshi, once it withered, they knew affliction, and it came upon them. You should have friends. Try to have friends like Eve. Look what they're willing to do. We all know Masusa. Okay. Gemara talks a different subject because we mentioned Eve. It says it came to pass when mankind larav in the face of earth, suddenly had daughters. Pasuk and Bereshis. So Rava and daughters are together, right? It says Rava, and we're saying suddenly daughters. Larav, to produce. Nah, it doesn't mean produce, it means fighting. Okay, Revia, sorry, not fighting. The reproductive system woman matures earlier than men, or stamens they're more essential for men because one man could give to many women, could have many wives and produce much more, but a woman only has about one body to produce children. Okay, Rish Lakish Amar no, Meriva Balaylam, conflict comes into the world. Okay. That we're saying that they mature earlier. Now Eve had 7 sons and 3 daughters. What happened was he got the blessings afterwards. The blessed him a peak of flame, he got double. So instead of 7 sons, he had 14 sons. All his sons died in that earthquake. And his 3 daughters also died, but the Rebbeinu Shalom only replaced him with 3 daughters. He had 17 children in total. So, Frek Gemara, why didn't we double also his daughters? You're right, they didn't get 6 daughters of a nichbulu b'yaifi, they were doubled in beauty. And Rashi says there's nothing better than doubling than that. How do we know they were beautiful? The Chsiv, it's written regarding Eve when he said, he had 14 sons. Here it means twice. And he only had 3 daughters. One whose name was daughter was Yemima, one was Shenis Ketzia, Vashem Shalishis was called Karen Hafuch. That interesting name. So let's go through the names. Yemima was why her complexion, was clear as the light. She had a beautiful complexion. Ketzia, she was called Ketzia, Shaireya, Naidich Ketzia. We say this by the Ketairis. Mara Ketzia was a beautiful, beautiful smell. She naturally had a beautiful fragrance. Okay, Karen Hafuch, Amid Shilach Shedaima. She was beautiful like the Karen of what? The Karen of the Keresh. What is a Keresh? It's an animal with horns that blacken what comes into contact with them, Zakt Rashi. Min Chaya, the Karnei Mashchichin Kamay Tzava. Was also very beautiful. She was also very beautiful. Mechayichu Allah. They laughed. They say, I don't know how the black horn is beautiful, right? Kind of the Keresh Lakusi. It's a blemish. Like the garden saffron, which is the best of its kind. It's superior to all other kinds of cosmetics. Similarly, she was more beautiful than everybody else. Shenamaz, like it says, Ki sikri bafuch, through you enlarge your eyes with puch, these cosmetics. Okay. Right, Karen is the best, and a puch means the cosmetics. Okay. The Gemara is going to say, Reb Shimon Rebbe Isilu de la Barta. First, he had a daughter. Have a kachalish daitin. They bring down what his chalishas das. The Ben Yaida explains what's his chalishas das. What's the problem with having a daughter first? He says because someone who has a daughter first is not zeich in the mitzvah, can never be zeich in the mitzvahs of pidyon haben. Okay. Right, that's what we said earlier. The birth of a daughter is essential for Puruvu. Doesn't help what you're telling me. He told him what your father's telling me, it's not really helping me. Or it's like Hevel, the son of Adam Arishan. Okay, the Tanya, let's be real. You need both. Okay. Having daughters is a constant source of worry. However, Ashrei Mishum Nasi Vosmi is a perfume merchant. Same concept. What do you have a choice? You rather be dealing with beautiful perfumes or that's being in the tanner? What do you rather your occupation be? It's the same concept. Rather, we need both in the world. Okay. Mara says this is a machlekes tonight. Why? He says Hashem berachas Avram Bakol. What's Bakol mean? He didn't have a daughter, so it was a blessing to Avram. Okay. Shalaisa b'Yehuda aimer shah punk verkehrt. Shahaisel avas echem aimer no bas haisel al Avram ubakol Shema. That was her name. He was so well versed in astrology that watch all the call of the kings of the east, all the malachim would arrive early as door to seek his advice. He had a stone on his neck. Okay, and he put a stone in the chama. Okay, so we're getting a little sidetracked with the bas. When the sun is lifted, sickness is lifted. The kitzur sunshine helps for sickness. The Brisa continues at Bakal. Who's blessed at Asa when he was during his lifetime, who did not do Merida till Avram Avinu's death. Bakal means that they're all righteous before he died. At his time is death. How long? Where do we know that he didn't do Merida? He didn't rebel. Right? We all know he came back from the field. He was tired. Only on that day did he go back from the field, and we all know what he did over there. He was Mizani, he was taking dishes and everything. The Nachem is Yitzchak Aviv. Right? That's the first meal you give when a person dies. Okay, the Gemara explains why Bichlad did he choose lentils. Just like a dasha doesn't have a mouth. Aval ein lo pei sits in sound. It's round. Right? Today we give an egg for the first meal when someone is sitting shiva. My benayu, what's the difference? And today taka, so if eggs are also, right? They have no mouth, but they're not perfectly round. Lentils are perfectly round, but today I think we just give the egg. We don't do that dash. Okay, he did 5 terrible sins. Baal Nair Marasa. He released he let go of the Bechaira. Let's go through this. Baal Nair Marasa, we know Ksiv Hachav Yava, Esam and Asadach, Ksiv Hasam, and it says somewhere else where it talks about someone who's Ma'anis and Nair Marasa, it says, Kib Asadim Mitzah. If he was tired of Ksiv Hasam, somewhere it says elsewhere. Oh, you know, Liki, Ifa Nashil arguing what mean for my soul is where those that murder. Also can hear me of a Kav Be'ikr, Ksiv Hachal, I don't need this. Ksiv Hasam, when it talks about the Ibn Shem Zeh, Keli Van Veyu. Kabbat Chesamasim, the Ksiv Hini, Ha'ilechi, Ha'ilich Lamas. He says, either I'm going to wait to die, so I don't really care about Chesamasim. And if you believe in Chesamasim, what Shaykh is death? Right? He gave it away to Yitzchak Avinu. Okay, let's continue a little more. How do we know Sha'asi Yishmael Tshuva B'Yam Minallah? Yihad Ravina Bar Chama Bar Buzi. Have you asked me the Rabbi that was sitting in front of Rabbi, coming down the Rabbi was dozing off. Amalei Ravina Rav Chama Bar Buzi. V'adai Damrisu Kamitza Sheish B'Geviyah. Are you sure that what he said when it says Geviyah? Whenever it says in the title or anywhere it says Geviyah means Misas Shadikim Amalei in. We know they were evil. In Alpha Pekin it's clearly said Geviyah over there. And it has to have both words. Therefore, meanwhile, at this point, Rav awoke and he said, the Darki Hachim Rabbi Yechanan, children, so Rabbi Yechanan said, Yishmael Asa Tshuva B'Chaya Aviv, Shenema Yikra Isa Yitzchak V'Yishmael Banav. We see that Yishmael was first, right? Avram's son, Isaac and Yishmael were buried, right? Okay, that Yishmael let Yitzchak go first shows that Yishmael did Tshuva. Because we all know that, Yitzchak was more chashuv. Right? It says Esav and Yaakov buried him. My time Allah chashuv l'dechach masan. Elamaylam and the Akdamei at Deburi Adbere Shmuel convinced Yitzchak to go first. And the Adbere Shmamina Tshuva Avad B'Yamav Atkan. Tomorrow we're going to pick up from the bottom of the page of Tanur Rabbanan, and we're going to finish Yetz Hashem the first parak of HaShutfa.